You're listening to the Holistic Hippie RN. I'm your host, Laura Gibby, quirky nurse, holistic healer, and transformational coach. Here to empower you to take charge and create balance so you become the green thumb of your life and begin consciously cultivating the life you desire, where you flourish and thrive. Think of this as the greenhouse of growing possibilities that will challenge your way of thinking through mindset shifting, holistic tips, and energetic upleveling. I am so excited to have you here today, so let's get growing.
Hello and welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today. I hope that you are having a beautiful day and the sun is shining for you, whether that is literal or metaphorical. You know, you're your own inner sunshine, so you get to have that shine every day and create your own beautiful day if you choose to. So I'm actually getting over a bit of a cold, I think. I hate to use the word cold because I prefer to think of it as I didn't really get sick. It's just X, Y, or Z. And I don't know where that comes from. But I notice my voice is going out, and if it sounds like I'm a little cruddy, that would be the case, is that I go through occasional times where I get a really gnarly cough and start to lose my voice. So I've been putting off recording any episodes for my podcast because of that story for myself. And today I was just kind of like, I feel like being chatty. I feel like I want to record something. It's been so long since I've released an episode because I lost my voice and it came back and then I lost it. I've actually had people tell me it could be allergies, which I've never had in my life. So I also refuse to believe it could be allergies, but I would choose allergies over a cold. In any case, it rains, I get a cough, I lose my voice. And so that happened. We've had a really rainy season, which I've actually been loving because it doesn't rain a lot here. And so I've enjoyed it. Although, like I said, I tend to get these episodes of losing my voice and then it comes back. And it's been about a month, I believe, since I've put together an episode. And part of me, I keep recording an episode or starting to record an episode, and something keeps stopping me. And it's the sense of, okay, what is stopping me? What's stopping me from getting my voice out there, which is also the story I have around losing my voice. And the sense of the blankness of not knowing what to record, of what to put out there, which is nuts because I have so many of these inspired ideas coming through of what I would like to teach people and what I want to learn for myself, which then I also like to teach people after I learn it. But it's just been really interesting. It's been really interesting finding, I guess you could call them the little glitches that have been thwarting me, blocking me from creating an episode. And one of the most important things when stuff like that happens in your life, stuff similar to this happens all the time in our lives. And one of the biggest things is getting curious about where that's coming from. Because when you start to get curious about where it's coming from, you start to see the pattern that plays out of how you're blocking yourself from something bigger and better. There's so many times in our lives, we have the opportunity to play bigger, to really up level in our lives. And because of our stories that we have, it creates a block for us, however that block comes up. And those stories, you might not realize that they're there, or maybe you do, but they tend to come up when you're about to get out of your comfort zone and go into more of a discomfort. So in my case, it's the sense of I could look at this as allergies, a cold, whatnot. I lost my voice. I have this cough, whatever's happening. And I choose to also think and look a little deeper as to, well, what are the stories I've had? What's been going on with myself that is giving me pause from doing something in my life? Because that's what gets created, is when I have something that I'm pausing on or holding myself back, then I physically pause myself. And that happens a lot where, you're in your comfort zone, things have been fine, And then you're ready to reach your next up level. You've balanced your life. You're ready for your next up level. You're ready for something bigger and better in your life. You're ready to serve more people. You're ready to do more things. You're ready to take a leap of faith in yourself. Whatever it is that you're ready to do, when you have that comfort zone, then your brain will also create the things that keep you limited in it. And so in my case, it's the sense of I started, I think actually right before all of this happened, I had started really getting clear on outlining things I would like to create, outlining a plan for myself, outlining the plan of attack I wanted to follow, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to serve bigger and better, And so in a sense, I had outlined how I want to up level next, what I would like to create. I outlined my inspired actions. And by doing so and getting a lot more clear, I was about ready to step into this discomfort of something new because it was bigger and it was, the same but a little different. So then it's the sense of we create our own self blocks, and we also create our own tests, I would say, because it's not always that you're blocking yourself, but you're also testing yourself. In this case, I choose to see it as the sense of I was blocking myself from doing something bigger. And so I would challenge you to look at your life and think about, where is it that you're ready for your next up level? You've felt really great in your life and you're kind of like, I'm ready for my next up level. I'm ready to take this leap of faith on myself. I'm ready to do that thing I've been thinking about. But then something comes up. It's not the case that you're consciously saying, I'm scared to do it, or you're consciously saying, I'm not ready for this, or, what have you. But something in your physical world happens that stops you from doing it. And I say that because that's how our stories get created. That's how our stories are blocking ourselves even. It's a sense of, I'm ready to do this next up level, and then I don't have the time because I got sick. I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying to, the money flow went away, so now I don't have the money for it. Whatever it is, we usually have a reason for what's stopping us in the end. And so it's working past that reason and understanding this is coming up because I was scared from it, or I felt like I wasn't ready, because it doesn't necessarily mean you're scared. You just might feel like you're not ready, and you're fearing taking that leap of faith on yourself, or you're fearing doing that thing that's really going to push you forward towards your vision. It's not even that it's pushing you forward in your life, it's pushing you forward towards your vision. We all have some form of vision, and maybe you're not quite clear on what that vision is. I have a really, really good workbook around that. It's a vision clarity workbook where you get more clear on it. But usually the things that align with your vision are already inherent in you, and it's just realizing those. It's getting clear on what that bigger picture is. A lot of times we limit ourselves we limit our vision from our current life circumstances, because I've met a lot of people who it's the case of, I want to do XYZ, but I don't have the certification. Well, unless you need the actual degree, like a lawyer or a doctor, unless you need an actual degree, you can still go for that. There's, tons of certifications out there, but there's a lot of things that you can start on your own, start the footsteps towards, and then make it bigger and better. If you need the certification, go get the certification. But I've heard so many people say, no one's going to offer me a job because I didn't go to college. And I think that's so interesting, that story, because I see every single day so many people making millions that never went to college. So it's interesting when I come across that story, because it's kind of like, well, what is the value that you're attaching to needing college if it's for a degree that doesn't necessarily need to be had in the job that you're seeking, or in the vision that you're creating, I guess I should say, because it's not necessarily the job that you want, it's your vision. Your vision could be to put beautiful art into the world that inspires people, that, what have you, that really just lights people up to teach people something new. In my case, I love to teach people how to heal themselves, how to create within their lives, things like that. Like, I like teaching people how to take a leap of faith on themselves and how they really have more control in their life. You might not have control on your outer circumstances, but you have control on your inner circumstances. And by changing your inner circumstances, it affects your outer circumstances. A lot of people don't realize that. And that's energy. When you start working on yourself inwardly and working on your energy, you start shifting more energy around you, and it changes things. So when I talk about how people limit themselves, people limit their vision. Sorry, that's what I mean. I keep kind of tripping over what I'm trying to say, but we're going to go with it. So people limit their vision by their current circumstances. It could be the sense of, I would like to be financially free, but I'm $100,000 in debt, or I'm working a job that only pays X amount a year. Well, when you start shifting your mindset around that, and when you start shifting your inner world around that, you start attracting the things that can create financial freedom. And you might not know what that looks like for you, but it's having the vision of what you would like and understanding how you would feel in that vision. How would you be in that vision? What it would change and impact in your life in that vision. All of those things are things you can get clear on. If you know you want better finances, start getting clear on what your life looks like with better finances and the type of person you're being with better finances. Because when you do that, you're shifting your internal world and you're starting to let that play out into your external world. But a lot of times we get stuck on, well, this is what's going on in the here and now. So we get very stuck in the physical world. We get stuck in this is what is happening in the here and now. This is where I'm at here and now. So my vision is going to be limited towards something similar or within my limitations of the here and now, within my current circumstances. But your vision does not have to be within your current circumstances, because your vision can be anything. And when you start giving yourself limitless possibilities and really dreaming big, then you start opening doors and opportunities towards that. Like I said, things can come in any kind of way, shape, or form possible if you put it out there that you believe it's possible. If you are willing to drop the belief that your circumstances will prevent you from your vision, then you automatically shift into a place of that vision being able to be created, because you never know how it's going to come in, and you don't have to know. All you have to know is that it's possible that it can come in. And when you start believing that it's possible it can come in, you're letting the universe know that you see it in your life. You see it as something that can be created for you. You see it as something that you would like to have, that you intend to have. And so this goes back to what I said with someone who says that they don't think anyone will hire them because they didn't go to college. Well, if that's the case, go to college. And then I come across so many people that say, well, am I too old to go to college? I've actually come across a lot of people in nursing from the different Facebook groups I've been in, who ask, am I too old to go to nursing school? No, absolutely not. You can do anything you want at any time in your life. You're never too old. You're never too young. That is just a story. That is just a limiting belief. If you want to go be a nurse, if you want to go be a doctor, if you want to go be a lawyer, if you want to go get a college degree because you think no one's going to hire you, go get it. It doesn't matter where you are in your life. And that's the same for anything. Anything across the board. If you have a story around why you can't have something, look for the reasons of how that's been possible for someone else. Because guaranteed, if someone else has done it, you can do it. And if you don't believe that's possible, just look for the proof that it's been possible. Everyone has their background story, and everyone has stories that they've ingrained for themselves. And when you break free of those, you create a limitlessness in your life. So for me, going back to why I started this episode was the sense of I actually tried to record probably like 20 times. I tried to start recording, and within 2 minutes I was like, this isn't it, this isn't it, this isn't it. And I started asking myself, wait, what is the reason underneath why I'm not recording something? What is my limiting belief in my story that's preventing me from recording? And at one point it was because I couldn't think of anything. And then at another point it was because I lost my voice. And then the two weeks in between that was again back to I couldn't think of anything. And so it goes back to, what am I telling myself and why am I telling myself it? And get yourself out of the physical world of what are you telling yourself and why are you telling yourself it? Because that doesn't matter, It's what matters is when you get curious and understand that, and then you can work from that. There's so much that when you get curious about and when you understand it and when you see the patterns that play out in your life because of your stories, because of your limiting beliefs, because of the actions and habits you have ingrained within you, when you start seeing that, then you start to be able to change that and you get to be able to shift out of that. So it's a sense of, if you're doing it in one area of your life, chances are it's playing out in a pattern in other areas. And that might not quite look the same, but it's actually the pattern of something playing out. So say you have a business and your business isn't going the way you want it to. Okay, so in my case, my word to release this year was avoidance. The new year came and I said, I want a word of the year, but I want a word to release from the year before. And I noticed I had a lot of avoidance from the year before. So I started looking at the different patterns, and I would look at how my business, the things that I felt like, discomfort around, I would avoid. Finances, the things that brought discomfort, totally would avoid. Confrontations in my relationship, I would avoid because I didn't want the nasty fight or whatever. Basically just a lot of things. I noticed a pattern of avoidance, and shifting out of that has changed a lot of things. And it has helped me see how my avoidance was a story that was causing me blocks in my life. And so when I shifted out of that, my relationship got way better to the point that we can really communicate about things so easily and so openly. And it's amazing. And so now the new thing I'm working on is consistency. And that's why I've noticed the block around the podcast episode is my avoidance of consistency. So releasing avoidance and creating consistency. Because when you create consistency in your life, you're showing yourself that you would like the things in your life that are in your vision. And I've said this before in the sense of ask yourself, what are you doing in your life that you would be doing in your vision? And what are you doing in your life that you would not be doing in your vision? So in my vision, things would probably have been achieved through consistency. When you're consistent in the things that grow you towards your vision, that grow you in your life, that create, where you flourish and you thrive, things like that. When you're consistent towards that, then the universe provides for you from it. And so, if you think about how, say you're starting a new fitness plan, because I've come across a lot of people who they have, different goals around fitness. And so then they start the fitness plan, but then they might get a little discouraged because they haven't seen the results they want yet. So they stop doing it, or maybe they just feel like they don't have the motivation around it, or maybe they just, feel like it just falls. The ball drops, and they might have done it for 3 days in a row, and then they take a few days off because of whatever the story is. And so there you're following through with the consistency. But when you keep things consistent, then you start letting the universe know that you're serious about what you would like in your life. When you keep things consistent, you're letting the universe know that you're ready for that to be created in your life. And so that is a way of being. You're being consistent because your future self has been consistent and they're still being consistent for whatever it is. And so that's what I'm realizing in my own life is the sense of, okay, I'm ready to pattern into my consistency as my next up level, because my consistency brings my next up level. So that's been a pattern in my life previously of not being consistent, has been a way of blocking myself from reaching my next up level. And that has patterned throughout everything in my life, is what I'm noticing, because I started getting more curious about it. I started looking at like the underlying layers. And so I very much challenge you to get I very much challenge you to get curious about what are things and ways of being that you are being that pattern throughout your life that is causing you to be blocked from reaching goals, from creating your vision. Because if you're setting a goal and you feel like you're not achieving it, well, get curious about how you've not been achieving it. If there's been a story behind it because XYZ came up, or you didn't have XYZ, or, whatever happened to prevent you from achieving that goal that you set for yourself, get curious about what that was, and then start looking at how that plays out in other areas of your life, whether it's finances, whether it's your career or business, whether it's your relationships, whether it's your personal development. All of these things, look at the reasons why you didn't reach your goal and then see how that shifts in other areas. Because then you can change that. You can be very empowered and have control over how you change that. So I would say really tap into that and then make that shift. If you're not reaching your goal, say from consistency, then start being consistent in all areas of your life and start seeing why you're not being consistent. If you're not reaching your goal because you're avoiding something, see where else in your life you're avoiding and start doing the opposite. Start facing those fears. Start understanding what's underlying that. And start working towards the shift. Even if you shift in one area, if you can be consistent in a shift in one area, it will start to shift the rest of the patterns, because they all play out, because they're all an extension of you. So when you shift in one area, it's going to play out. So for me, like I said, my relationship, I had a huge shift in, and it was literally like a 180. Things are really amazing. And so I'm starting to see how that pattern is playing out into other aspects of my life, because I've shifted in that one area. And that's a one area now that I can see how things get shifted. So it's easier to shift within that area to create the shift in the rest of the areas, to make that kind of wave throughout my life. And it's just really interesting, because it also helps you get more clear on the things that you would like in your life, because you're starting to like, when you start getting more empowered within yourself, when you start realizing what you can control from within yourself, and how you react in your life, how you are in your life, how you be in your life. When you start to realize all that control and all that power you have from yourself, then it's really cool, because you start to think about, well, what would I really be doing? What would I really love to do? And then you get to be that way, and you get to take those steps towards becoming that, towards shifting into that vision, towards reaching those goals. So I would challenge you to find one area of your life that you can get curious about, And the easiest one would probably be goals that you've set that you've not met, because you could even see the goals that you've set and you've met, because you could see the ways that you've been to get to those goals and start being consistent with that throughout your life. But the goals that you've set that you haven't met, get curious about the stories and the things that happened in the physical world preventing you, but also in why you didn't meet those goals and how that shows up elsewhere in your life. And then shift out of that, pick the goal and set the goal and get consistent and shift out of that way of being you were being into the way that you need to be to reach the goal. So I think that is a really big food for thought. I think that's a really big thing to dive into. I love talking about more of these kind of inward work and energy shifting, because I feel like there's so much that we get trapped in from not realizing how much power we have within ourselves to really shift our world. There's so many things and so many ways that you can show up and you can create anything you want and you can create any possibility in your life. And when you start to see that, you can really start to change your life. And I challenge you to think of your vision as you would if it were limitless. If you could have absolutely anything you want, look at what that is and write it down. And if you have that story pop up of, well, but this, just squash it. Just squash it for a bit and dream big, just like you did as a child. And until next time.